All right, we are jumping right into the absolutely epic story of King Solomon. You know him, right? One of the wisest, most powerful rulers in history. Well, we're going to explore how his personal life, his own choices, led to the complete shattering of his kingdom. It's this incredible tale of politics, faith, and the consequences of a divided heart. And at the very center of this whole story is a number that is just staggering. 1,000. That's how many women were in Solomon's royal court. We're talking 700 wives, actual royalty, and another 300 concubines. And as you're about to see, this was so much more than a personal matter. It was the spark that lit the fuse for a total national disaster. So that's really the big question we're digging into, isn't it? How does one man's private life, his affections, and his alliances actually manage to fracture an entire nation? This question right here, it sets the stage for a political and religious drama with consequences that would literally echo for centuries. Okay, so what was it? What was the fatal flaw that took this incredible golden age and pushed it right to the brink of collapse? Let's get into it. You see, the problem wasn't just the sheer number of women, it was where they came from. These marriages were probably smart political moves, but they were with women from nations that the Israelites had been explicitly warned against. The old warning was pretty clear. They will surely turn your hearts after their gods. And yet, Solomon, he held fast to them. He loved them. And this is such a fascinating comparison. As Solomon got older, his devotion just kind of fractured. His heart wasn't fully with his God anymore. And that was in stark contrast to his father, David, whose heart was described as fully devoted. This one difference is the absolute key to understanding the spiritual and political decay that was starting to set. And listen, this was not some private shift in belief he kept to himself. Oh no. Solomon actively promoted the worship of other gods. He followed Ashtoreth and Molech. He even built high places for worship for gods like Chemosh, right on a hill just east of Jerusalem. He did this for all of his foreign wives, which basically institutionalized idolatry inside his own kingdom. Now, as you can probably imagine, actions like these, well, they have consequences. And in this case, it led to a severe, divine verdict that was about to seal the kingdom's fate. So the Lord became angry, and it was a direct result of Solomon's blatant disobedience. And what makes this so wild is that God had appeared to Solomon personally on 2 separate occasions and specifically commanded him not to follow other gods. This wasn't breaking some ancient dusty rule. This was a direct violation of a personal command. And this leads to an unambiguous prophecy of doom. I mean, there's no mistaking this language. The kingdom itself, this great empire built by David and Solomon, was going to be ripped apart as a direct consequence of his actions. Imagine hearing those words. And let's look at the specifics of this judgment, because they're fascinating. The what is clear. The kingdom will be torn away. The who is a shocker. It'll be given to one of his own officials. But then you get this measure of grace. Because of his father David's legacy, the sentence was delayed. It wouldn't happen in Solomon's lifetime. And his son would be left with just one tribe, a tiny remnant of its former glory. Now, this divine prophecy, it didn't just stay in the spiritual realm. It immediately started to play out in the real world through political and military threats that Solomon's once super secure kingdom had never really faced before. All of a sudden, the long peace of Solomon's reign was just over. 2 enemies were raised up against him. You have Hadad the Edomite to the south and Rezon of Damascus to the northeast. The kingdom was now being squeezed and harassed on its borders. Hadad's story is like a whole mini-narrative in itself. He was a royal refugee, an Edomite prince who escaped as a boy when David's army conquered his homeland. He fled to Egypt, found favor there, and even married into the pharaoh's family. But as soon as he heard that his old enemies, David and Joab, were dead, he went straight back home to become a constant thorn in Solomon's side. And to make matters worse, there was Rezon. He was another leftover enemy from David's wars who had gathered his own band of men, captured the city of Damascus, and set up a hostile kingdom in Aram. So now Solomon was facing this sustained pressure from multiple directions. But as serious as these external threats were, the most significant danger, the man who was destined to fulfill the prophecy, wasn't from the outside at all. He came from one of Solomon's very own men. So, meet Jeroboam. He's not a foreign prince, he's one of Solomon's guys. He's described as a man of standing, and Solomon himself had noticed his talent and put him in charge of a massive labor force. And this is the subordinate God chose to inherit most of the kingdom. And his next part, it's one of the most powerful, symbolic moments in the whole story. The prophet Ahijah meets Jeroboam out in a field, takes off his own brand new cloak, and just dramatically rips it into 12 pieces, one for each tribe of Israel. Then he tells Jeroboam to take 10 of those pieces for himself. It's this physical act that represents the political division that was coming. And here you can see that prophecy visualized. I mean, it is a stunning transfer of power. The vast majority of the kingdom, 10 of the 12 tribes, were being promised not to Solomon's actual son and heir, but to this ambitious official, Jeroboam. So, what was Solomon's response to hearing about this prophecy? Was it repentance? Nope. It was violence. He immediately tried to kill Jeroboam. But the future king managed to get away and found refuge in, of all places, Egypt, the same place Solomon's other enemy, Hadad, had gone. And there, he just waited for his moment to arrive. And so the board was set. You have the designated heir, you have a prophesied rebel waiting in exile, and you have hostile neighbors on the borders. And with all the players in position, Solomon's long, prosperous, and legendary reign finally came to a close. He ruled for 40 years, a reign that was defined by incredible wisdom, wealth, and these monumental building projects. But he died before he could witness the full consequences of his actions, passing on a deeply fractured and unstable inheritance to his son, Rehoboam. And this leaves us with a really provocative final thought. Solomon's personal choices didn't just tarnish his legacy, they lit the fuse on a ticking time bomb. The question was no longer if the kingdom would split, but how violently. He left his son a kingdom that was guaranteed to break apart, setting the stage for a civil war he would never even see.